Hey there, welcome to the Win Crew podcast. I am your host, Ryan Price, and again with me today, Alex McCubbin. Thanks for being here, Alex.
Absolutely, man. It's always fun talking with you.
Absolutely. So today we want to talk in a little bit more in depth about entrepreneurship, real estate, and essentially like focusing on how that developing a winning mindset and how important that is, especially in our industry.
Yeah, man, I'll be excited to dive in with this because mindset, gosh, it's so big and it controls so much. But if you can control your mind, you can control your life. I'm sure you've heard the quote, watch your thoughts for they become your words, watch your words for they become your actions, watch your actions for they become your habits. Watch your habits for they become your character, and then watch your character for it becomes your destiny. I know that's a lot, but if you believe in that, you can see that your destiny can literally be defined by your thoughts. And so we've got to make sure that we're really protecting what comes into our mind, what we're believing in, and kind of treat it like Fort Knox. Be careful what comes in, and be careful what you manifest in.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy how powerful that is when it comes to talking about our minds. Why is it so crucial, especially in real estate? And we're talking about, being an entrepreneur.
Well, I think you've got a lot of distractions inside of real estate. You've got a lot of competition as well. The barrier to entry is pretty low. You have to have a GED. And so the entry level is low, which means there's a high level of competition. And so if you have a winning mindset, to me, that means you're trying to figure out in whatever circumstance, in whatever environment, in whatever atmosphere, you're finding ways to win. And I love thinking about the opponent, because in my mind, I'm thinking if the opponent, every time they sleep in, every time they don't make phone calls, every time they don't take an opportunity to heart, every time they, make excuses, that's an opportunity for me to beat them. And I always want to be thinking about, I'm trying to make the competitive field as hard as possible for people that are trying to beat me. So if I can adapt that winning mentality, hopefully I'm setting myself up for a better future by being able to capitalize on opportunities that are in front of me.
Yeah, that's awesome. And sometimes we always know you're going to fail.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how we can use failure as motivation.
Sure.
Especially in this industry, because we hear no a lot.
Yeah.
But we also know every no that we hear, we're closer to a yes.
Absolutely. It goes back to training your mind. I was actually talking to an agent out of Lexington, and one of the things that they trained their mind, they knew their stats so well that every 18 no's, they would get a yes. And so he just got excited about hearing no's. And if you can train your mind to be excited about failure, kind of become callous to those no's. Don't let it affect your mentality. Don't let it affect your outlook on your business. And every no that you get is closer to a yes. Then you become infatuated and obsessed with finding the no's. And so that's a little bit a different way to think about hearing a no. Whereas most people, if they don't have that winning mentality, that winning mindset, they hear a no, they get a little deflated.
For sure. Yeah, I can kind of picture either having like a slide rule, or if I have 25 pennies right in front of me and every no, I'm sliding a penny away. And knowing that 24th penny sitting on the table,
right,
that next one's going to be a yes. I mean, what a great way to drive yourself to get through the no's.
Yeah, absolutely. Pretty powerful. And I like that. I like the visual there. I think I'm a visual person. So being able to see that and see how close you're getting can be fulfilling, to your spirits for sure.
Absolutely. So failure is not something to fear. It's really just a chance to grow, and, keeping that, in your mind as being a positive mindset.
Right.
It's obviously what we're talking about today.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about persistence. We know that, you talk a lot about, you can be, you can be determined, but if you're not doing the things correctly, then it doesn't matter how much determination you have.
Right.
Or maybe you're doing things correctly, but you don't do it, the right way or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Talk about that visionary and persistence right there.
Yeah. Well, persistence is extremely important. It's a factor that you have to have, and I can kind of relate that to discipline. Discipline is what keeps you going even when you don't want to do it. Motivation gets you started, so you have to have some motivation. But if you've got the discipline, if you've got that in your DNA to be able to move forward, even when times are tough, even when the environment isn't the same as it used to be, even when everyone else isn't having success, even when fill in the blank, if you've got the discipline to know that you've got to show up and do the things on a daily basis, you're going to get results. And so having that persistence, even if you're not getting that short-term fruit, you're planting the seeds to be able to get the fruit later.
Yep.
I love that. You said correct and consistently. If you can do things correctly and consistently, you are going to get results, period. I always like to talk about fitness and, working out. And if you go to the gym consistently, and you do your workouts correctly, you're going to get results. However, if you mess one of those up, you can bet you're not going to get results. It's great that you're showing up, but if you're doing the wrong workouts, you're not getting results. It's great that you do the right workouts, but if you're not showing up correctly and consistently, you're not getting results. You can literally take that and apply it to real estate, entrepreneurship, whatever the case is. Show up and do the right things correctly and do them consistently. You're going to be able to get some fruit at the end there.
So is this something that you're either born with or not? I mean, you coach not only your kids' athletic teams, but you also are a real estate coach.
Yeah.
So is this something that's coachable, or explain how you go about elevating people to that level?
I think it's coachable if whoever you're speaking to has the willingness to be coached, which is a big factor there. If you're not willing to have that growth mindset, you can absolutely be stuck in your rut for the rest of your life, which is a fixed mindset. Some people believe that you're born with it. Some people know that you can be taught and you can get better. There was a study, you may have not heard of it, it's called the Pygmalion effect. And so what happened with this was there was two student teachers. One of them got a classroom of 15 kids. The other one got a classroom of 15 kids. Student A, that teacher was told that those students were A+ students, and teacher B was told that those students were C- students. And it was actually, the truth was opposites. Over the course of the semester, from what the teachers believed, it got pushed down to the students. So the people who were actually C- students became A+ students, and the people who were A+ students actually became C- students. So that shows you the power of outward, inward, showing how much someone's opinions can affect your performance. So just imagine if you become obsessed with believing in yourself and doing the right things and showing up and being persistent. That growth mindset is going to only in turn make you be able to have a more elevated career in whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah. Wow. I've not heard that. It makes so much sense, especially when you break it down like that. So it's, especially when it comes to our kids, making sure that they have those positive influences for sure.
For sure.
What about a third mindset principle that some of our listeners should grasp?
Well, I think there's, a positive attitude and resilience. Resilience is basically the ability to recover quickly from difficulties. And so I'm going to give you not necessarily a positive story, but it's a testimonial of something that happened to me and a failure on my part. But back in 2019, I was involved with a real estate transaction. It had 3 properties and 4 closings. And so there was a dual agency involved with one of those, over $1 million that I had on the line here. I got to the closing for the very first one that was going to be the domino effect for all 4 of them. And we didn't close. We didn't close because of something that the seller had not done to the home, something that I thought was easily manageable and could be fixed. But the buyers, however, saw that differently, which caused a large domino effect. Well, what did Alex do? Alex was poor, pitiful me. The sky's falling on me. I failed at continuing to prospect. I just literally, I clammed up and I shut down because I was so frustrated and aggravated. But if I had taken that same energy, like let me be mad for 2 minutes and then move on with my life. If I had taken that same energy I'd given to the negative and put it in positive, if I got back to work, if I tried to find new clients, if I hit the ground running, door knocking or prospecting or whatever it was, I could have rebuilt some of those opportunities that I lost. And so resilience for me, I have an example of not recovering quickly, and I know how much it stung me and the result of that. And so that's something that I've been able to learn because I put my hand on the stove and I burned myself a little bit. So being able to do that, I think, is obviously really good. Adaptability and flexibility. We know that the market is always changing. It's ever changing, day to day, month to month, year to year. And if you're not adapting to the market, you're going to be left behind. There's a lot of businesses that are innovative and adapt. You look at Facebook, Google, Amazon, Apple, any of those businesses, they're always adapting. And the businesses that don't, like I said, they kind of fall off of the edge there. But as long as you can be aware of what's going on in the market, have an understanding that you can be flexible and adapt to that, you should be able to stay with the market. And the last one, you've kind of already mentioned, would be the growth mindset. You've got to have the willingness to be able to learn, commit to that, and then see the fruits of your labor.
Yeah. I want to go back just a second. You mentioned that you kind of did the poor, pitiful me thing when things didn't go your way.
Sure did.
But, you said I could be mad for a couple of minutes. I think sometimes, it's good to be mad for a couple of minutes. Yeah. It's just making sure that doesn't overtake your mind for days on end where you're, you can only control what you can control.
Right.
But I think it's important to, get angry, get mad, But just be sure you be able to put that behind you as well.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
if you don't release that stuff, you're going to explode.
yeah, I agree. And I kind of have a rule now. I can be as mad as I want to for 2 minutes, but I'm not going to manifest in it. I can channel those emotions into something else that's going to get me some positive returns versus, gosh, I can't even think about how bad of a husband I was, how bad of a dad I was, how bad of a coworker I was. I was so mad, just period. I was mad. And I let that affect my life. And, I definitely felt it in those next 30 to 45 days because of the lack of commitment I had to the craft, which then obviously gave me the results that I was not looking for.
Right. You didn't tell the good part of that story.
Yeah.
Because things ended up working out.
They did.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was just a delayed gratification.
Sure.
I was able to help everybody in those transactions, which is ultimately my goal, is to be able to help people. But, I was lucky enough to be able to hold the relationship with them and continue on with that rapport that we had built to help them. It just wasn't with those homes that we originally had planned for.
Yeah. You definitely could have, snuck back in your shell and not move forward. But that just shows, your determination and drive when it comes to, helping people.
Sure.
For sure. That's awesome. So in closing, anything else that the listeners should hear about winning mindset, how we can, incorporate that into our daily lives?
Yeah, I think you've got to empower yourself. And, with us and social media, I just actually looked this up a second ago. And as of April of 2023, the average human, I'm not talking about different age segments, but the average human spends 2.5 hours on social media. This is not the internet in terms of Google searches. This is Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, those types of things. 2.5 hours. So in those 2.5 hours that everyone is spending on social media, think about how much negativity we're receiving, subconsciously, or consciously. But nonetheless, if you are consuming that information that has a negative impact on you, you're doing yourself a humongous disservice.
Sure.
Only be associated with things that empower yourself. There's a guy named Sean Stevenson. He's called the 3-foot giant. He was born with, some type of genetic disease, and the doctors told him that he had 24 hours to live, right, as a baby. So he was birthed, and then he was given 24 hours. 35 years later, he was still living. He outlived every single one of the doctors that told him he had 24 hours. And so if he would have believed in that, I know a baby doesn't, they're not going to be able to really understand their thoughts and things like that. But if you believe in something that you're hearing on social media or something that you're seeing or something that a coworker is telling you, if you start hearing that and believing it, like I said earlier, that kind of becomes your destiny. Mm-hmm. So be careful about what you let enter into your mind. And if it's not empowering you, you better get rid of it pretty quickly. The other thing would be to make a commitment. If you want to have a winning mindset, it does take a commitment. It's not going to happen overnight. And I would encourage you to start setting things throughout your day that's going to remind you to have that winning mindset. Start your morning with a workout or go on a walk or start journaling, gratitudes, prayers, meditation, things like that to really help you understand, okay, what does the day look like in front of me and why am I doing this? Connect that winning mindset with your why, and you're going to be in a better position to be able to execute the day there and, have a clear vision on what you want. I think that's also very important. Real estate agents can kind of wander aimlessly, which is really hard to continue to have a winning mindset for. But if you know what you're chasing, if you know what your vision is, if you know what your why is, it's a whole lot easier to stay on track with that winning mindset, with that growth mindset, because ultimately, the things that I do today are getting me closer to where I want to be tomorrow.
For sure.
The last thing I want to say, man, is everyone can virtually be better at anything, and have that growth mindset. LeBron James is one of the best athletes in the world. He still shows up to practice and he can get a 0.1% better every single day. And so don't ever think that you've got it figured out. There's someone smarter than you. There's someone better than you. There's someone more athletic than you at all times. And so have that desire to want to get better, which will help you ultimately have what we've been talking about this whole time, the winning mindset.
Absolutely. And that's something, especially with the Win Crew, our real estate team, there aren't many mornings that we don't meet to try to get our minds ready for the day.
Right.
And it's very positive, and we're all in it together. So, having mentorship, accountability coaches, whatever that may be, just to help you get into that mindset is so important and
Absolutely.
hugely important in what we do here.
Yeah. I mean, if you can start your day on the right foot, it's only going to flow over. You know, if you don't start thinking about mindset until 8 p.m., well, you've wasted all of your work day, your time with your family. But if you start your morning off with that and you feel good and confident about the things set forth in front of you, then the likelihood that you're going to have a good day in a tally in the right direction is going to be a whole lot better. And, you know, we always like to tell people here is, you know, whatever you think your limits are, you're wrong. I can guarantee you that. You can push yourself further, you can do more things, but whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. Yep. It all starts with your brain, all starts with your mind, so be very conscious on what goes on between, you know, these 2 ears right here.
Sure. That's awesome advice, Alex. Thanks so much again for talking today. Our next episode, I'm going to tease it a little bit.
Okay.
So overcoming challenges, you know, in real estate. Let's pick a couple of things that we know, you know, that are challenges that everyone's going to need to overcome.
Sure.
Give us a little teaser for next time.
You know, I think if you just listen to the public right now, you're going to hear about interest rates, you're going to hear about home prices, and you're going to hear about discipline. We talked a little bit about discipline today, but you can't do the same thing today that you did in 2021, 2022, and be successful. So you've got to figure out what to do when you face those hard times or those struggles. You've got to figure out what to do to break through that in order to be able to have a good career.
That's awesome. Well, we hope you join us, you know, next episode. Like I said, you know, we thank all of our listeners. Thank you, Alex, for being here.
Yep.
Can't wait to see you next time.
Absolutely. If you've got a computer program that's helping you remember who to call and where they are in their sales cycle and information about them, you can put notes in the computer. The computer has a much larger capacity.